Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to make a top. It's going to look just like this. This is one I made for my shop. The bodice that we're going to be using is going to be slightly different. That's the only variation that we're going to use, or that's going to be different. But same thing, it's going to have the straps, it's going to have the skirting here, the ruffle at the bottom, but that's optional. If you don't want the ruffle at the bottom, you don't have to put it there. We're going to do a back. That's going to be sheared, so it's going to be like really stretchy, so it allows for room to grow. And we're going to be putting our straps and tying them through a buttonhole. So we're going to be using a buttonhole. Okay. I'm going to be using a ruffler foot for this, so for those of you who wanted to learn how to use a ruffler foot, that's going to be part of this tutorial. If you don't have a ruffler foot, you can just use the gathering technique that we used in the other tutorials. Okay, I'm going to be using fabric to match these pants that we made in my other YouTube tutorial. Okay, and for this one, we did the gathering. Okay, so if you're not sure how to gather, you can refer back to my other tutorials, and I show you how to do that there. So for this one, though, we're going to be using a ruffler foot. Okay, so for your fabric, first thing, you need 2 rectangles for the front bodice area. Okay, so I'm making it for my 3-year-old daughter. So what I did was I measured from under her arm for where the seam is going to be, from there all the way to the other arm, and she was 10 inches. Okay, so that's exactly how long I made my fabric. All right, and then I measured her from here, which is where I wanted the dress or the top to fall on her chest, down here where the skirting is going to start, and that was 5.5 inches. So what I did was I cut the width 6 inches to allow for seam allowance on both sides, 1/4 inch. Okay, so her bodice is 10 by 6. All right. The back of her bodice, where we're going to shear, is going to be a lot bigger because we're going to be using elastic thread and it's going to be stretchy. Okay, so for that I just took her measurement of 10 and just did 1.5 times that. So because it was 10, I made the back length 15 inches. Okay, for example, if your little girl's measurement was 12, then you would do 18 in the back. Okay, so you're just going to do it 1.5 times. And then for the width, it's going to be exactly the same as the front. So her front was 10 by 6, so this one is 15 by 6. Okay, I'm going to put a blog post on simplyannykate.blogspot.com that's going to have some generic measurements for the different sizes, but really the best way to make sure that you're going to have a good fit is to actually measure the little girl. Okay, next piece are our straps. Okay, I always do 4-inch width. Maybe if I was making like a size 6 months, then I would do maybe 3 inches, but anything over 6 months, regardless of the size, I just do 4 inches. It's just easier that way. The length I did 20, so these are 4 by 20. You're going to do 2 of these for both the straps. The reason I do 20 is because I like to have the option of tying it in a bow in the back. So for example, this is long enough if I wanted to tie it in a bow. If you don't want it that long enough, then you can make it, 4 by 15 if you want. It's up to you. All right. The next piece that you're going to cut out is the actual skirting of the top or dress. So, I'm making a top today, but if you wanted to make a dress, you would just make your width longer to make it a dress length. This one, just a really easy way, this is what I do for my shop. When you get the fabric cut at the fabric store, it's always folded like this, right? And then they cut it for you. All I do is keep that fold there. This is for any size. And then I just cut the width. Okay, so for this one I did 11 inches. Okay. It depends on what size you make. You might have some extra scraps left over if you're making a 12-month or an 18-month. But, I use those scraps for other projects. But it's just easier for me just to leave it folded the way it is at the fabric store and then just cut the width. So that's optional for you. So this one's 45 inches. Because that's how long it is, when you buy it off the bolt at the fabric store, by 11, okay? So I have 2 of these. Okay, the first thing we're going to sew is the back bodice area, okay? So you're going to take your 2 pieces, Mine were 15 by 6. You're going to put them right sides together, and all you're going to do is you're going to sew down one side of the length. Okay, that's it. Next, you're going to do your straps. We're not going to do anything with the front bodice area yet. Okay. So for our straps, we're just going to fold it in half so the ends meet, and you can press this if you want. And we're just going to sew down one of the width sides and one of the lengths. Okay? 1/4 inch seam allowance for both of these. We're going to leave the end of the other width side open because that's how we're going to turn it inside out. Okay, you're going to do that for both of your straps. Okay. Alright, so I've sewed my back piece, okay, down one of the lengths. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to press this so it's nice and flat. For your straps, I sewed my pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my seam on the top, just because I think I went over a little bit of 1/4 inch. So I trim my seam on the top. I'm not going to worry about the side. When we turn it inside out, you're not even going to see it. But I am going to clip my corners. You always want to clip your corners just diagonally across, but be careful not to cut the stitching. And what this is going to do is when you turn it inside out, it's going to make a nice 90-degree angle. 45-degree. Okay. So, okay, what I'm doing is, you can buy, these are the best things ever made. I started my Etsy shop and I didn't know about these things for about 3 months, and then I found them and it just made everything faster. Otherwise you're going to be, turning it inside out and pushing it through. These tube turners make it super easy. These are at Joann's, Michael's, any craft store. So what we're going to do is you're just going to put it inside of your tube all the way at the bottom, and then it usually comes with a stick. I had a wooden dowel that my kids got hold of and ended up breaking, but this works fine too. This is a metal dowel, and you're just going to find the tube, and then you're going to push it up through, and then your tube is turned. And then I just stick the dowel back in and then just push up my corners like that, just so I have nice square corners. Okay, and then I'm going to press this as well. I'm going to do that for both. Okay, so we have our straps that I pressed. All we're going to do now is we're going to top stitch these. So we're going to start at the side that's open, and we're going to go down the length. I try to do as close to the edge as possible, maybe like 1/8 of an inch. Slow down near the corner, and then I'm just going to leave the needle in and just pivot 90 degrees. Pivot. Now, sometimes when you're at the seam of where the top and the width and the length are, it gets kind of chunky right there, so you might have to just kind of help it over. So all I do is pick up my presser foot a little bit, and then just kind of move it over a little bit, and then it'll catch. This is because my machine is older. You might not have this problem, but just in case. Don't sew closed. You want to make sure that stays open. Okay, we'll do the next one. Okay, so we have our 2 straps done, top stitched. Now what I have is I pressed the back of my bodice. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a buttonhole. Now, I can't really do a tutorial on a buttonhole. Really, the best thing to do is to read your manual of your machine. Mine is a manual buttonhole. A lot of machines have automatic buttonholes. So that's really something that you just have to, kind of read yourself on your machine because they're all different. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle, okay, of my piece, all right, and I'm just going to start my buttonhole in the middle. You might have to move it back a little bit to accommodate for the size of your buttonhole. I'm going to do, you can't see this, but on my buttonhole foot I have red markings that show how long the buttonhole is going to be. I always make it the longest just because we're having 2 straps going through. You don't want to make it too big though, because then the knot is going to fall through and you're not going to be able to use your straps. Okay? You could still use it if you tied it in a bow, but just make sure you don't make your buttonhole too big. I use brown thread just to match. Make sure you find a thread that matches yours. Alright? Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our straps to the front bodice. Okay? So we have our 2 front bodice pieces that we didn't do anything with yet. What you're going to do is you're going to lay one flat so you're looking at the right side of the fabric, and you're just going to take your straps and you're going to lay it on top. Okay? Take your other one and lay it on top. They're really, I'm sure, some people might want measurements for this, but you just kind of place it, I don't know, I want to say maybe a strap length in. So, here, I'll pin this so you can see it. You don't want the straps too close together on here, because then they'll be like, the straps will start here and they won't lay right on the shoulders. You want them just to kind of lay right in the middle. Okay, so that's where I put the straps. Okay, not too close together. You don't want them in here, and you don't want them at the edge either. Okay, so just kind of someplace, a little bit in from the edge, but not too close to the middle. Okay. All right. So you're not actually gonna. I just pinned that just so you could see where the straps are. What you're gonna do is you're gonna lay your other piece right side down, so you can't see the print of the fabric, and you're just gonna lay it right on top, nice and straight and even. And that's when you're gonna pin. So you're gonna pin through all 3 pieces: the bodice, the strap, and the other bodice. And just use 2 pins. Okay? And then they're sticking out the bottom. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to sew across. So all I did was just sewed across and left a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm just going to take out my 2 pins. Okay? And now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these extra pieces off. These are the extra strap pieces. Okay, and you can kind of trim the threads too if you want. Okay, and then when you flip it over, okay, now your straps are attached. Alright? Okay, so what you should do now is you should go and press this so it's nice and straight. I'm actually going to quick show you how to attach the back bodice. Before I press it, I'll press it when I'm done. Okay, so you have your 2 pieces. You have your back and your front bodice. Okay, all you're going to do is you're just going to put the width sides together, okay? And you're going to do right sides together. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put them together, match up my seams, and I'm just going to pin. Okay? So when I open it up, it kind of looks like this. With another pin in here. Make sure you don't pin the straps. Make sure the straps are hanging out the bottom and you don't sew the straps. Kind of need to keep them out of your way. Okay? So just to show you, there's the strap piece, and then I just attached it to the back. Okay? Now, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just watch out for your straps. You're going to put right sides together, line up your seams,